Welcome back. This is Nelly's BS. I am your host, Nelson DeMello. And yes, it stands for Bible study. Or does it?
I don't know. I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's a good take.
I don't know if this is a part 2 to this or, we're continuing on. But I didn't get to finish Numbers 25. And so I'm going to do that. I read about how the Midianite woman was getting married. They were doing this what do you call it? When like two princesses get married to form alliance kind of deal. Anyways, that's what was going on. And Eliezer stabs them both. Or it was actually Phineas, right? Phineas. The plague stops. 24,000 people died in the plague. Verse 10. And the Lord said to Moses, 11, Phineas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, has turned back my wrath from the people of Israel, in that he was jealous with my jealousy among them, so that I did not consume the people of Israel in my jealousy. The jealousy of the Lord, people. It is underestimated. It is underrated, misunderstood. It is one of the characteristics in which you have grace. The reason why Jesus died on the cross, I will boldly say, is because of the jealousy of the Lord. Now, let's start with a few things. Definitions first. The way I like to see it, although we use jealousy and envy interchangeably, okay, the bad kind of jealousy, because I've realized that the Bible uses jealousy, just jealousy. Very, very few times it uses like envy or covetousness. The bad kind of jealousy is actually envy, which is desiring something that doesn't belong to you, that will never belong to you. And that usually means that it creates bitterness, resentment, comparison, a lot of negative feelings. Not only that, but to achieve having that thing, getting that thing, usually means you are lying, cheating, stealing, killing, or something to attain what you desire that will never and does not belong to you. So this could be a person, this could be a career, this could be material things, this could be like attributes, characteristics, right? So like if you have envy of, I don't know, your lab partner's intelligence, you might make him look like the fool so that you look like the smart one, right? That is envy. Now, jealousy is quite the opposite. Jealousy is rage against, like the threat. It's a rage against the threat of the things that belong to you. What do I mean? I don't know. A mom is walking with her kid, like in a park or something, and a bike comes by and like almost runs over the kid, and the mom is like, "What the heck are you doing?" and blah 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 blah, right? That is, she was consumed with jealousy for her child. In protecting, like in the desire for like the safety of her child, she became angry and became protective. This is jealousy. This is a good kind of jealousy. This is a loving jealousy. Now, what most people will say, why it's interchangeable or whatever, is because usually when humans feel jealousy, that anger that comes with the jealousy, we tend to forget the love that's underlying, right? So in this sense, your love for the child is what brings about the rage, brings about the wrath. But then you focus on your wrath and your rage and your anger, and you project that, and you forget, oh wait, the kid is what's important, and the love. So like the love kind of gets dwindled down, and we act in our anger. So that's what, scholars would say, like, this is why it's sin. When God gets jealous, he does not sin. But I don't know. For example, you can be jealous for your body. Jealous for your body in the sense that I want to take care, I want to preserve, I love my body. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take care of my body and make sure that it stays preserved and stays not injured. So, and that's the thing. It goes in so many ways, right? Because like athletes, especially young athletes, will play on injuries. I don't necessarily think that is a jealousy for their body. That is like I'm actually going all over the place with this, but I mean, essentially that's something of like your ambition is more important than the love of your body, the preservation of your body. And I guess that's another thing, and maybe that's even like an envy thing of like, someone else is gonna take it if I don't take it, and that's mine to give, but it's not yours to get, or else it would have had it, kind of deal. But for us to understand God's jealousy, we have to understand the most powerful dynamic of all human dynamics, which is marriage. Now, I have to preface, this is a very tough, weird, awkward conversation because we don't understand ideally what marriage looks like, what manhood looks like, womanhood looks like, how the symphony of these two things together is a beautiful thing, and et cetera, et cetera. So to a postmodern Gen Z millennial, it might sound icky. But if I were to say to you, and maybe like you're happily married, you listen to me, you're like, oh, I don't see what the problem in what you're saying is. Maybe you can help me as I explain these things. I don't know, maybe you're Christian, you kind of understand like, hey, this is what it's supposed to be and it's hard and da, da, da. Still comment. What I'm saying is, if you disagree, don't comment. Just kidding. No, it's, it's fine. But sorry. It's just like, I'm so meta, bro. I'm so meta. No, but okay. So how do I even start this? Okay. We're talking about ideals, right? Ideally, when a boy becomes a man, okay, they understand something. I have to stop doing what I want and just chasing my desires and doing this. And I need to do what's good for me. So hopefully at a young age, but at a certain age, they understand sacrifice is the only way. Sacrifice is the only way. You got to die to your desires. You got to die to all these things. And this is like lingo that like, it's like universal for men. I don't know how to explain it, but just this language of dying to yourself is so clear, so easy to understand. But it's like being a soldier, dying, serving. But that is what it becomes. This is how we become like men, proper men. Being comfortable with sacrifice, being comfortable with, I'm not going to just do whatever I want and follow my desires and just kind of go with the wind, but like be established and be disciplined and be, about something and have purpose and intentionality and move in one direction and be focused. This hopefully is something that you grow into and you can continue to develop. And by the time you're getting married and this and that, it's like you don't even have to think twice. By this time, you are now saying, it's not what's good for me. It's what's good for us, what's good for her. I'm thinking about her. I'm putting her first. And that becomes the rhythm in which like we live. I think I'm a decent example of this where like there's a time where money was tight. I didn't think twice about getting a second job. I was working 70 hours a week, and my second job, like, it's a serving job, so it's really up to me, to make the money. But I was making, maybe 18 to 20 an hour, which, I mean, look, some of y'all are like, oh my gosh, no way, if you're like under 20 years old. But, it's not that much, But I had to do what I had to do, go back to serving. Thought I never would, but here I am serving. I didn't think twice, Then there's a lot of examples where like there's a tension in the relationship that's happening. And I realize I can do something on my part to fix it, the tension, and it's over. Then we can be closer. There's a lot of instances in that sense where it's like, oh, I just need to die to myself. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm not a person anyways. which sounds sad, but I don't think so. I mean, like, you read Paul's letters and he talks about it's not I who live, but Christ in me. And then he gives this example of marriage in Ephesians 5. And he talks about how, men ought to die to themselves like Christ died for the church. And we need to love our wives, right, with the love that Christ has for the church. It's like I don't exist. I there is no me. The ego's gone. It's something else entirely, which I think is why the dynamic then becomes all I want is a little respect. You know what I mean? And so why do I paint this picture of the ideal example of what a man should be and should look like? Well, because that's a man worthy of submitting to. Why am I talking about submission? Because the person who loves you and understands sacrifice has what I want for my wife is what is best for my wife. In the context of, I don't do what I want, I do what I need, I do what's good for me. Like, practicing sacrifice for myself makes me see people differently, not as tools to get to what I want, but I see their potential. I see maybe they are projecting their desires in a certain way, but maybe I know, hey, underneath that there's something deeper that is more sustainable for you, and I want that for you. So the jealousy I have for my wife, okay, if we have all of that context together, the jealousy I have for my wife looks like I don't, and that's the thing. It's like postmodern, like what I say might sound controlling. It's what I'm it's like me trying to start an underwater civilization and we haven't, me like, coming up with all the plans and this and that, and you not knowing how to breathe underwater yet. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just so the ideas of the jealousy of God is so radically distant from postmodernism or this era of American thought. And I think it really does come down to a few generations of bad fathers and bad husbands. You know what I mean? And we can't fathom what it looks like for us to be limited by someone above us that wants our best and wants what's good for us. Like, that is unfathomable to some people. And that like, this conversation is hard for me because I know people are like that, and people are going to see this and hear this, and all they're going to hear is, you're a misogynist, you want to keep women down, you want to control women, you're a manipulator, and blah, 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 blah. And like, look, I'm married. All right. And I have nothing to gain from you specific, like, from y'all, like, accepting this and learning and being molded by this. I have nothing to gain. I have nothing to lose by saying that to you. But this is like, you can't understand the love of God fully without knowing his jealousy. You just can't, because you're going to suffer through things, and God is going to like if you're not bendable, then God's going to break you. And it's because of his jealousy, right? He loves you so much that he will refuse. An example of stubbornness. Like, yeah, my dad talks about it, from the pulpit a lot. And so, like, my relationship with my dad was essentially, he had this idea, like, I don't know, maybe it's a Latino, like, not a Latino thing, maybe a Latino thing, minority thing, I don't know, but or just an old people thing of like, oh, I'm just too old to change, and this is who I am, and love it or hate it, take it or leave it, but this is who I am. And I'm like, all right, I'm leaving it. And he's like, wait, what? And went through depression and like, a really dark season in his life. And I was, I don't know, 21. And I was like, dude, I don't want to talk to you. All we do is fight. We don't get a kind word in. And this is just not it. Like, this is horrible for my mental. I, and like, I don't know if this is like, you think this is your love language, is just arguing all the time, but like, I can't. This is not ideal for me. I can't stand this. I don't like this. So instead of, because like, we give off signals, right? I remember growing up and like pushing him off and being like I don't want your affection because you're like I don't see you around, or like having conversations with him and like me being distant because I don't feel comfortable with sharing. And it's like, not that he chose to be ignorant and that's not necessarily what I'm saying, but like when I look at my marriage, for example, there are signals of like, hey buddy, you need to change this. Hey buddy, like this is poking at you. This is a not a cycle, like a common thread. I don't know, it's a habit, this thing that keeps coming back up. Like you need to check yourself. Like, is this really what you want? Like an easy one in marriage is, would you rather be right or rather be happy? And some people would rather be right in 10 years, and that chips away at the marriage, and that chips away at the marriage, chips away at the marriage, slowly but surely. And it's like, dude, I can't get a single word in. We can't do anything that I want. You can't, you know what I mean? Like everything is, and it's like they leave, and you're like, oh, what the? I didn't see this coming. It's like, dude, this all the signs were there, and so that's kind of what I'm saying is, life has a way of like throwing signals at you of, hey, repent, change your ways, change the way you think, change the way you feel about things, and we don't, and if we are stubborn, right, like that is God signaling to us, hey, I'm trying to move you in this direction if you allow love and grace to come into your life, and that be your sense of identity, and your where like you don't need to hold on to these things, and you can be flexible and moldable, and I can change you. We have to understand that, like, in when God created us, he had an intention for us. He has like the most beautiful true version of who we are to be that we're not. And it's a journey to get there. And it takes submitting. And when we don't submit, or we go in directions that threatens the most beautiful, truest self, he comes at us. Not necessarily in punishment sometimes, but in a friend, like, trying to get it through your head. Parents, like, so, I would say a lot of the times it's your relationships, and like you start losing relationships, and you're like, man, these relationships are so important to me. Why are people leaving me and this and that? Because you're stubborn. You're not moldable. You're not humble.
Sorry, y'all, it's cool for real. You know what I just remembered though? Like, subscribe, send this to somebody, send it to that person you're thinking of, send it to that person who needs to hear this. Look, I know perhaps it'll make it awkward, whatever, but be passive aggressive. Like, it's fine. Send the indirecta. It's okay, bro. It'll mean a lot to me. Do it for me, bro. Do it for me. Do it for you. All right, let's get back to the serious stuff though. Keep it in mind though.
I'm avoiding what I'm really trying to say, and I'm sorry that it took me so long. But in marriage, you belong to each other. My wife is mine. My wife, she's mine. Anything that threatens that, whether that's people, whether that's like a phone, like the. I'll give you my example where I used to get phone games on my phone, and I would get completely addicted, and she would try to talk to me, and I couldn't respond. Like I wouldn't hear her because I was so focused on the game. Our nights together weren't nights together. It would be both of us on the couch. She would be doing her thing. I'd be doing mine. I loved the game more than I loved my wife. And she was like, hey, delete that. Like, it's done. Like, no more for you. And I had to make the decision, right? Oh, right. It's not about me. It's about us. And it's about her. And I have to love her. Not because that she's trying to love me, so I'm going to try to love her. I'm going to love her because I promised her I would. I argued with someone while we were like, we weren't, I think our engagement lasted, I don't know, like 2 months or something. It wasn't that long. So it was before that. I think it was when we were dating. But I was arguing with someone and they were like giving me all these scenarios of like, what if this would happen, would you divorce her? And I was like, I would most likely never divorce her. She's like, what? Even if this happens, like, what are you talking about? Like, da da da. It's like abuse and blah blah blah. I'm like, my promise isn't to her. It's also to God, and my loyalty isn't just to her. It's to my like the marriage, and so it's like independent of what's going on with her. I'm loyal to the marriage. I'm working towards the marriage. I'm investing in the marriage. It's not just her, And I think not if you're single, this is why you're single. It could be part of it. Well, actually, no, almost, I would say 70%, at least like the comments I see online. I don't know. Like my assumption is that like everyone who comments on stuff is from 13 to 16. And if you're not 13 to 16 and you're commenting something, as I'm making a YouTube video, it's a hot take, sure, but like that's kind of where your mind is. And I don't mean that of like obviously thoughtful, what do you call it? Comments. But the majority of comments that I read are like, oh, and that's why I'm single. And oh, that's why, women suck and poo poo pee pee. And I'm like, what do you like? This is children. But then, you look at this thing and it's like a 50-year-old and you're like, what the heck is going like what is going on? So that's where I'm coming from with saying that. But the idea is like, if you don't understand from the beginning that like your loyalty, like there's just this idea of like, I will only do blank if they do blank. That doesn't work in marriage. That is not fathomable. That's not reasonable. That's not going to work, right? Especially as the man. Like as the leader, you are the initiator. And I don't just mean like, oh, plan a date and blah, blah. It's like, oh, you want to get healthy? You start it first. You go on that journey first. You want to, I don't know, have more peace in the house? You be peaceful first. You humble yourself first. It's like you have to do the thing first. And like, it's tough, man. Yeah, it's just, my wife's a private person. I'd like to keep her out of it. That's why I really only talk about my side and all that stuff. But it's not an easy thing, but it's what we're called to do. And it's the only way it works. I don't know how else to explain it, but that idea of like, as a man saying, oh, I'll only do blank if you do blank. I don't know, bro. Like, grow up. That to me is like I actually wanted to go on this whole rant about how Jesus is the manliest man ever, because it's like if we understand sacrifice and like why heroes are so important, right? And like every hero movie, it's always the guy sacrificing themselves for the good of humanity and this and that, because that's what a man is supposed to do. Sorry, ladies, but I wouldn't believe it if a woman died for me. I'm like, no, that's not realistic, bro. Like all of humanity, the history of humanity, like, what is that? Unless it's your child, I would believe that. But it's like, you wouldn't do that for a stranger. Now, why is Jesus the manliest man ever? While we were still sinners, while we were still enemies of the gospel, enemies of God, he saved us regardless, right? And that's the ultimate hero story, right? Where like the bully gets saved because the guy who's being bullied saves the bully. You know what I mean? That's the ultimate story. And that makes him the manliest man ever. There's this Brazilian guy, UFC fighter, forgetting his name right now, but he says Jesus didn't tap on the cross. My dad, like it was my dad's favorite quote. That, and there's another quote. Same guy. Dude, I'm not remembering his name, but like it just was ingrained in me. Like Jesus didn't tap on the cross. Like, cause UFC, jiu-jitsu, like he didn't surrender. He didn't give up. He went all the way to death. You know, like it's just that's manly, bro. I don't know what else to tell you. And dude, I'm going on a rant right now about manhood, but like that's why, like manhood, masculinity isn't about how macho, how strong, like how hairy and big you are. It's about sacrifice and ego death. Like that's what makes a man a man. And so like you can be a short guy, but maybe you sacrifice by, I mean, it's always going to be a form of service or a form of like, because we end up becoming servants. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so if you think, oh man, I have to be big and strong and masculine and hairy to be man, you're forgetting like, okay, you're a smart guy. Your sacrifice might be that you just work more. You like, there's so many ways you can sacrifice. Maybe you're not the smartest guy or the strongest guy, but you can always be there for that person. That's sacrifice. Like I can hear you out. Like, yeah, we don't have the biggest cars and that, but I can offer you my love. But that idea of like, look, I don't have much to my name. I'm not a smart guy. I'm not charismatic. I'm not any of these things, but I can just love you and I can listen to you, make you feel heard, make you feel seen, like that's at the end of the day, masculinity, bros. And like, yeah, honestly, I think I could speak for the girls here. That's kind of what they want, low key. You know what I mean? Like, there is a version of masculinity for all men. It just requires sacrifice. What does sacrifice look like to you? Look like for you? What does dying to yourself look like? Putting them first. What does that look like? If you're a songwriter and you're, yeah, dude, I don't know what I'm allowed to say. If you're like a twink and you're a songwriter, it's like, I will write you the most beautiful songs and I will think about you and, you are my muse and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, if you're the tough guy and blah, 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 it's like, I will protect you and I will make you safe and no one's going to hurt you, including me. I'm not going to hurt you either. I know I'm a big guy, but I'm not going to hurt you, and maybe you're a smart dude and you give that you give financial security, so like there's just so many ways to provide safety and security and sacrifice to them that it doesn't fit in a box. That's kind of what ladies want, like, and different ladies want different things, and so you just got to meet your match. You know what I mean? My romantic starts coming out where it's like, dude, if you just love somebody, just be the person they want. You know what I mean? Like, F it. Like, who cares? Like, oh, that's not who I am. Blah, blah, blah. Do you want this person or not? I don't know. Maybe it's just me me watching Shorzy season 3, and the way Shorzy talks about his girl. He's like, I will run a marathon for you. I'll run 2 marathons. I just want you, And he's just like old school romantic, just like, I'll shout it from the rooftops and I'll let everyone know that you're my woman. It's like, oh, dude. Yeah, everybody needs to watch that episode of Shorzy, dude. That's it, man. Just be a fool, man. Who cares? It's like, what have you got to lose? You got everything to gain, which is like a lifetime of companionship and joy and love. Or a no. Like, yeah, maybe the no is embarrassing, but then, you dodged a bullet. Like, if they treat you poorly with the no, it's like, who wants to be with you anyways? You're disrespectful, you're blah, blah, blah. I don't know. And for the ladies, it's like, dude, know your worth, queen. Choose Choose people for how they treat you, not for what they can give you. How about that? Choose a guy that treats you right instead of gives you the right things. That's something. Which, I mean, maybe countercultural at this point, right? Guys, I've talked so much and I've barely hit anything. Oh my gosh, the jealousy of God. So if God wants what's best for you, I'll use my life as an example. If I, dang it, man, I can't think of anything. I've just been so obedient lately. Oh my goodness. No, dude, let me think. Oh my goodness. I can't think of anything like where God was like, hey, I don't want that. And here's like your consequences. So you stop doing that, or whatever. But I guess it's just, it finds its form in self-love. Like God's jealousy almost becomes a wisdom and a projection of self-love as I understand the jealousy of God, So like reading, for example, I think it's 1 Corinthians 6 or 7. But being unequally yoked, being one with a prostitute, giving your temple, to strangers. I mean, yeah, that whole chapter, that section, I think also he talks about, you say, food for the belly and belly for the food. And I say to you that both will be destroyed in eternity. And so, it's this command of two things. One, in the context of self-love, I mean, that's what it becomes. It's this idea of like, man, you're hurting yourself doing this thing that you think you want. And there is a more sustainable, and when I mean sustainable is like, oh, well, I don't know. I guess this is like a niche example, but like dirty bulking and clean bulking. The idea is if your only focus is the macros, well, you can still clog your arteries. You can get too much like fat, build up too much fat. You can get health complications. Your sodium can go high, all of these things if you dirty bulk. So you're just eating junk food just to get the calories and, whatever. Or you can clean bulk, which essentially just means eat rice and chicken. That's not true. I'm exaggerating, but it's this idea of like you get the same outcomes, except you stay cut, right? Which, like, who doesn't want that? It's healthy for you. That is the fuel that was intended for your body. Doritos ain't gonna cut it, but broccoli, rice, and chicken, your body was like, yeah, I've been eating this, like humans have been eating this for the last, couple thousand years. I think this is good for my body, kind of deal. And so like, it's the perfect fuel. It helps mentally, your gut, everything starts aligning. You feel good, all of this stuff, because it's sustainable and it's hella cheap, right? And it's like in every facet, this is the better option. And this gets you to your goals, your actual goals, instead of all this junk food that you think will get you there faster or whatever the case is, but actually might, screw you up in so many different ways, whether it's budgeting, whether it's, like I said, clogged arteries and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of examples like this, but the idea, that's what I mean by sustainable. Like you can do this for a long time and there are no repercussions because this is what you were intended for, right? So for example, being a social media influencer and being in the comment section and trying to better your quality, that's not sustainable. You know what I mean? Like you're going to get bitter, envious, you're going to doubt yourself, you're going to hate yourself. Like there's so many things that can go wrong with that. Sleeping around, not sustainable. Why? Because you're giving yourself to people. You're going to stop trusting people of the gender, well, I would say the opposite sex, but the gender that you're attracted to. You start becoming insecure. Am I enough? Why am I essentially going from person to person and nothing is working out. Like all of these things start happening, which I did experience in my youth, as if I'm not a young man. But that's what I mean of like, and I think relationships is the perfect example of like, I have needs. I want to be loved. I want to be seen. I want to be, in companionship. I want all of these things. Boyfriend doesn't work. Other boyfriend, girl, whatever, and you're just like going through these relationships or not really, like, yeah, some people are serial monogamists, right? But other people just sleep around and whatever, and it chips away at you. It's not sustainable, right? That is not a sustainable way to be heard, be seen, be loved, It's not. And in God's jealousy, he desires for you to be with him. And so when we understand in why I bring up marriage is because that is the thing. It's like in marriage, the root of that jealousy is, hey, I'm number one. That's what you promised, right? You promised to love me, right? Not your family. Dare I say, not your kids. You didn't make a covenant before God and man with your kids. You didn't make a covenant with your job. You didn't make a covenant with your dreams. You didn't make a covenant with any other person. You made a covenant with me. And you made a covenant to love me for, sick or poor, sick, rich, poor, in health, and big, small, purple, blue, yellow, whatever condition I'm in, you promised that I'd be your number one. And that is also the promise we make with God when we accept him as Lord. When we accept Jesus as Lord, that is the covenant that we enter into. And so he gets jealous. And that's what relationship with God looks like. It's not just a friendship, it's a marriage. And you promising, I will love you first and foremost. Damned if I don't. Just kidding. That's the thing. He's like super faithful, which is when we read the context of Hosea. I'm probably going to bring up the jealousy of the Lord so much because that's the point of Hosea. It's like, hey, you see this marriage and you see this whore going back to its things, and Hosea having to come back and say, buy Gomer back, buy her back. And then this happens 3 times and she has children, illegitimate children while she was prostituting, and you go and raise these children. That is the metaphor for us and God. Like we run away to shinier things and God's like, no, come back, and brings us back by force. Not by, I don't know, by force. I don't, yeah, kind of, maybe in some sense. And so it's that thing. I don't know if you understood the jealousy of the Lord. I don't think I understood the jealousy of the Lord, to be honest. I don't know if these were excellent episodes to be 100% with you. But it's what I'm capable of now. So I'll see you next time. We will probably just breeze through Numbers 25 again. Yeah, I'm sorry. We are not finishing Numbers ever, are we? All right. Hey guys, thank you so much for going on this journey with me. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, follow, and remember, there is more to life, and that is good news. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.